I'm playing on flat land with hills and Cosmonaut difficulty except for always day. I'm also not going to do any tourism or any industry that doesn't require workers. And of course, most importantly, no loans. This is the first save I made. I bought and sold containers at the custom houses to get down to as little dollars as possible and as close to 150,000 rubles as possible. I went a little under. And this is 145,000 right now because I had already bought this oil truck. But other than that, all these are free buildings. So this is where I started off with in my little starter setup. Also, here's the difficulty setting. So everything's Cosmonaut mode, hard. This is February, a year later, just before I started moving people in. I decided to use the distillery as the income, and the reason all this infrastructure took so long to build is because I used foreign workers and the cheapest construction vehicles possible. And I'll also sell these vehicles before I start moving people in to get the most out of the money. The tower cranes and the open hole to carry them, obviously not the cheapest, but I thought the bigger tower cranes would allow me to use less foreign workers, but I learned later that the size of the crane doesn't affect the speed multiplier bonus, it just affects how many workers get that bonus. So I did waste a little bit of money here, but as I said, I am selling these, so I didn't waste that much money. Here's a month later after I've moved everybody in and sold all those construction vehicles that weren't needed in order to afford the immigration. I'm also building this monument with regular people instead of foreign workers, just to try to save as much money as possible. Now 51 people isn't a whole lot of people to go around, so I do have some unemployment because I'm trying to make sure none of these ever run out of people working there, because that could be bad. So I don't know if I handled this the best possible way to do it, but it worked out in the end. So I don't know if there's maybe a way to save a little bit of money here and there. I'll also show the economy page here so you can see where that $150,000 went, since now everything's all set up. You'll also notice that there's no hospital or fire station yet. Those are expensive buildings, and it would have pushed the budget from 150,000 to like 200 or 250,000. So my solution for this is just to save scum. Anytime I got a fire or epidemic, I just reloaded a save. Although I guess if you were really lucky, you could get to the point that you could build that stuff without save scumming at all, since I think fires and epidemics are just completely random. 2 years on and not much has changed. We haven't been making that much each year, but enough to keep inviting more people and working more people at the factory to slowly build up the economy. 3 years later, and other than building this flat, it's still just the same old, getting more and more people. I sold the construction vehicles that I used to build this flat basically right after, just to afford more and more immigration. 4 years after that, we finally got a working fire station so we can stop save scumming fires. We've got a hospital that's well on its way, and we've started construction on a police station. We've jumped ahead a further 9 years to where I've got all these crime buildings built. It took a while, especially the prison, which is a very expensive building. I was worried that criminality would just keep getting worse and worse, but it seems that on a population this small, it didn't get too bad before I could build these buildings. I'm also having to juggle the educated workers because I don't have that many to deal with, so I'm having to micro them between the hospital and the school and the law buildings. It took another 6 years to get a university built so that I don't have to rely on importing immigrants to get the educated workers, and I can make them for myself. Now that I had the infrastructure to get as many educated workers as I wanted, I was free to build the most profitable industry, the one that's many times more profitable than any other industry and would allow me to go out with a bang by making millions. Except I accidentally built a uranium conversion plant instead of the nuclear fuel fabrication plant that I meant to. And at this point I was kind of done and didn't want to wait many more years for building the nuclear fuel fabrication. So, sort of an anticlimactic ending. No millions to be made, but I am obviously self-sufficient enough that I can call this as a win, and that I survived with only $150,000 to start with.